Meeting's open. We're going right to discuss the FY27 budget. And we'd like, where'd he go? John, is he there?
John's there.
There, John. We'd like you to start off, since you did those nice reports for us.
Okay.
Is that okay?
So we did a couple of scenarios that we had discussed. Initially, we talked about raising the salaries at 2.5%, reducing the expenses to a zero, and that's one model you see. And what's a little bit distressing about that one particular one is how little effect it has. Like right now, okay, with a fully loaded, we were talking about $560,000, right around there. I've been playing with it a little bit, so the deficit's a little higher. But under the model that I mentioned, it brings it down about $20,000. So level funding the entire, what expense accounts the town has control over, that is exempting insurances, pensions and the like, you save $20,000. Now I know we're trying to knock off almost $600,000. And if you look at the school model, Cammy had asked for some information, and we went with, as you can see up at the top, the town department's 2.5% salaries, 0 expenses, and the school assessment 2.5%, as opposed to the 5% that we've normally just plugged in there for to get a sense. And that brought us down to $437,996. I think if you look at it, it's just not providing the impact that the town needs to get down to their goal. We chipped away at it, but a couple of things. One, the town has fewer accounts that they have control over than you would realize, between contracts and those items that I mentioned earlier. The big takeaway from this is the two suggestions just don't amount to a lot of money. And so what we're heading into is a budget season that's going to be more painful if we want to get ourselves off of free cash. And obviously for the town, that's going to mean cuts. The school, hopefully they'll be a willing partner and provide some suggestions on what they can do. But right now, this is where we stand, which it's a little bit more dire than I think any of us realize, but there it is. If you have any questions, I'll try and answer them for you.
So,
Tammy?
can I just clarify one thing, John? I know when we had looked at this last meeting and this meeting, I just wanted to clarify for those people listening, the topic of using less free cash to balance the budget isn't really an option this year. We don't even have enough free cash to take care of these deficits, correct?
No, we don't. And it's an issue that didn't just happen this week.
Right.
I just can't drive home the fact that this has been the result of years of imprudent financing. Whether it's been forced on us or whether we just say yes to everyone, I can't really describe it any other way. We knew how much money we had. And it starts on so many phases, so many levels. Town meeting ignored the warnings. Committees and boards acquiesced to the information that was provided to them and chose to go their own way. And it's still continuing. It's shockingly, it's still continuing. We're still hiring people when we don't have any money. And I'm absolutely stumped by this. I heard this recently, and I just can't believe we're doing that. I mean, you're looking at, if you split it budgetarily, it's about 50-50 between the school and the town. And where does the town come up with $300,000? It doesn't.
Yeah. That's the problem.
It doesn't. Reducing a budget is not going to get us to zero. It means cuts. It means cuts. You're going to have to look. There are other phony ways to keep the budget afloat, like we've been doing in the past, and explaining. All of you there have done a really good job, I think, of explaining to the town where we're headed. You know, the use of free cash doesn't come back. Once it becomes part of recurring expenses, they're now part of the tax levy and they're not part of free cash. So you got to come up with more free cash the following year in order to fill that void, and that's what we've been doing. And we've made some effort to stop, but this is where we put ourselves. We always have free cash to cover it. Well, no. If you look, free cash awarded every year has been on the decline because of how we've used free cash. And now we bottomed out. And my biggest fear is that we don't recognize this now because we'll just continue down the path. Oh, we don't have free cash, but we have stabilization. Oh, we don't have stabilization, but we can use, cemetery perpetual care. I don't know. There's some funds out there. And it's just this Band-Aid solution that we've been using and not convincing not only the town, but several of your department heads don't take it seriously. And here we are. This is where we are. We've been able to save. If school were a willing partner, we'd be able to save about $300,000 to $400,000 combined, $200,000 to $300,000 combined. That's just on reduction of budgets. That says nothing about cutting. And I believe that that's where we brought ourselves. Merry Christmas, everyone.
And one thing we haven't discussed is the special town meeting prior to the annual. There's usually a couple $100,000 in there that we take from free cash. Where's that money going to come from this year? So, I mean, the situation I think is even worse than a lot of us realize.
You're right about that, Roland. Where we are with free cash right now, and who knows what we're going to do with it. We use, as you say, use some of it in the special in the annual. But capital is moot. For all intents, you might want to call that committee and say,
We're here.
Your winter and your spring are free to do anything you want because we have no money to give you.
So,
Go ahead.
John, one of the things that, for those people listening also, and the department heads to understand is, when you take a look at the worksheets that you've done, in between our 2.5% increase in our new growth, we only have about a $250,000 additional revenue this year that's already been accounted for to help offset some of the cost increases, and we're still short. So it's pretty much a situation of we need to learn to live within a $250,000 increase each year for the entire town budget to stay above water.
Yep. And I think we talked about this at the last meeting. You're absolutely right, Carrie. You look at the revenues. Remember, revenues for 25, the full year previous to this, were down 4% from the previous year to that. So the 24-25 comparison, the revenues were down 4%. We took a hit to, we took a pretty hard hit to motor vehicle excise. Cars are getting older, we can still get them for something, but, forces beyond West Brookfield's control. People aren't buying cars. So that highlights kind of where we're at with that. Yeah, that highlights where we are. And it's a little bit grim. Things have a way of working out. We perhaps can get there, but it's going to be painful, and everyone from the top down to the residents, the voters, the taxpayers, need to understand that we weren't making this stuff up.
Yep.
And that I suppose it starts with the override. To say, look, we did talk about this. The override isn't for things that we want. This override is to sustain services that we've provided. We don't gain anything by this. But when we've more or less said that in the past, somehow we made it work. You know, we need an override for a patrolman. Well, the override failed. We got a patrolman. So what are you trying to tell me? We need an override for ambulance service. Well, the override failed. We got an ambulance service. How'd that happen? I wouldn't believe us either. But this override, you really got to show there's level funding. There's cuts. Here's what's going to happen. This building is going to close at night. Patrolmen, firemen, DPW. Your staffing is already just so thin. But we still can't support it. So with this override, you've got to, what you say will happen really has to happen. And that will give them an idea of what they face when they go into town meeting. I'm exhausted already.
Okay, questions?
Not of John.
Hang on. Go through here. Okay, David.
Just a question. We're not even halfway through the current fiscal year. Is it possible to adjust the second half spend? Number one, to cut the expense, and number two, to show the town what we can afford or we cannot afford
We're
now
working.
before July?
We are working on that.
Okay.
That'll be addressed tonight too, hopefully.
Because I
Okay,
think until people see what these, what our current revenue base can support, to John's point, they're not going to take us seriously, that this is something we have to solve with an override. We had ARPA, thank God, and that bailed us out, but there was no visibility in town that there was $1 billion+ that came in that helped us out that was never going to happen again.
Understood.
Yeah.
What else?
I agree with what you said sort of about ARPA. It saved our necks. But it also raised expectations about what we can do.
Right.
I think the clearest of that is the TIP projects, phase 1, 2, and 3. Hey, we're smoking along. We're getting the money. Well, there's no more ARPA. There is no more free cash. So what happens to? How does it leave us hanging like this? How does it leave us hanging after phase 2, and you're telling me we can't do phase 3 now? So the ARPA was a godsend, no question about it. But now what? Which is the argument for any one-time revenue that we have. You know, wipe out your stabilization fund. Go ahead. But what are you going to do next year? You know, it's chestnut checkers.
No, I really don't want to touch stabilization. There's, and I know Lori doesn't either.
Never do.
No, well, that becomes more of an emergency of if something really goes bad, and meaning not operationally, but
So, yeah. And the one thing that we didn't even address, and I know we don't have any money to address them, but when we were at the last meeting, the essential repairs that we need to do in town was the library at $700K, the town hall at least $500K, HVAC for town hall is $100K, phase 3 was $500K, and the West Brookfield School was $1 million. That's a ton of money that we don't have.
Yeah.
we couldn't even afford the debt payments
No,
to borrow it.
we can't.
Yeah, that's the sad part of this. We can't even over
And
time.
if I could, Jillian, I'm glad you've joined us so you can catch me when I fall. But that list of items that you just rattled off, they're at the very least debt exemptions.
exactly.
You don't have it, you're gonna have to go back and again and again and again to get the money for the roof, the COA, all the ones that you itemized, because
Yep.
there's no money within the levy. So you need a dedicated revenue stream to fund these projects, and that's going back and forth with the voter every time you need something.
But the money still has to get paid for. Oh, yeah, over,
Debt exemption, okay.
pay for it.
Yeah, so during our last meeting, we talked through just making sure that we're all singing the same song as we're communicating what the challenges are with the town. And on Facebook this week, I saw challenges about lighting the Christmas tree, right? And there's certainly some community response to that. I think every interaction like this that we have should be a great opportunity for all of us to be involved in that conversation, to share why we don't have the funds to do even those little things. This is, obviously a small portion of what we're talking about through this, and there's obviously going to be much bigger pain points and potentially cuts that need to be made. But I think even engaging in these ones where the town is discussing it is a great opportunity for us to get in front of it and discuss the budget and the challenges with the budget before we get to the town meeting next year.
Good points. What you got?
I guess I agree with that. The difficult part is trying to communicate the information, because here we had 3 committees at 3 different meetings to discuss the tree lighting, and it became, what do you mean you're not gonna light the tree? So trying to communicate the information and the avenues are one piece, and getting people to understand the information is gonna be the second piece, but trying to get that message out there is the tough part.
Absolutely.
So, let's go through some options we have here. As painful as they will be, let's, I think, put them on the table.
Yep.
You wanna start?
Well, so we know we are in a deficit before we even start, and we know that. And what I'm wondering is, one thing that we really need to walk away with is being able to provide instruction to the department heads to preparing their budgets and what that's going to look like. And I don't know if numbers have been crunched to get a sense of a percentage for the departments, or what type of approach the boards want to take in reviewing. But there's going to be cuts all the way around, so.
Well, why don't we start with the immediate this year? And we have talked about freezing the budget right now.
Yep.
And seeing what we could hopefully save from this year to help us in the following year. So where are we going with that?
So from what I understood, just in brief discussion, was that there was the thought of freezing purchases. So the expenditures, the operating expenses. And so I don't know if that's feedback or what that was, but so we would look at departmental operating expenses, make that effective probably pretty immediately for all departments to suspend non-essential spending, which would include office supplies beyond basic operational needs, training, conferences, travels that aren't absolutely necessary, new equipment purchases that are not tied to safety or legal compliance or emergency repairs, that type of thing, discretionary program expenses, that type. Number 2, perhaps overtime. So overtime should be restricted to public safety emergencies, weather-related response, mandated minimum staffing, but all other overtime, and I'll just give an example, so such as White Christmas is coming up, so there's some overtime expense in police detail. So with that, it's not a mandatory, gotta have it right now. It's not something that would be considered an emergency. However, it's necessary. And so a situation like that should be brought forward for approval, type thing. And then we would probably want a mechanism in place for tracking that, because I think that if you simply just put something out there, it falls to the wayside if no one's keeping eyes and ears on that. And I think that that also drives the message that this is absolutely critical and is a responsibility and obligation of every department head. And there's accountability. So that would be a decision that, the board would make as to who's going to be those eyes and ears, and all of that. There would be permissions throughout, and in some cases, I think it would go directly to the Board of Selectmen. In other cases, it may go through my office. And then I think that there should be some, if we're going to do freezes, that there should be monthly review looking at the financial data and sharing that with advisory, and advisory being able to make recommendation after looking at that data and recommending to the Board of Selectmen to potentially lift the policy or the freeze or something like that. But I mean, there's some things that I think will have to be worked out. This was just it's just a draft for you to consider. Hiring freeze that had been mentioned. We just heard about hiring, so there should be no new hires, backfills, reclassifications, anything like that, without the Board of Selectmen's approval, obviously. And if there were any public safety staffing requests, again, that would have to be on a case-by-case brought before the Select Board. Capital spending, all capital purchases that have not already been, they're not already in the plans, they haven't already been initiated or that, perhaps that's placed on hold right now. There may be some articles that, require that they be kept open to utilize those funds if it was, a roadway repair or whatever. And again, I think in some of those instances, those could be approved through the board. And then, for the emergency repairs or legally required. I also think as well, Donna was gracious enough to supply there's a spreadsheet that she supplied that lists all of the articles that had, unfortunately, I don't know that we, okay, we did. That lists the articles and the remaining balances. And so I do think that we need to go through those articles. Some of them may be aging out, where we could request Donna to be able to close them out. And then that would help us when it comes to next year's free cash. But each one of them should be looked at, and I can, that's the one sheet we don't have to go. Okay, so there's, all right, so it looks like this. So there's maybe a dozen or so, maybe a few more than that. And some of them I can recognize from the last annual town meeting or special town meeting. And then others I don't, because they were from the past. And so, I'm more than happy to, I feel that there's a need to go back to the department heads, committees, and that have these out there to inquire their useful purpose. And perhaps there's opportunity in this to close them back out to the general fund. And then, there's the duration. I think we already spoke about that in review, that there'd be a monthly review on the financial data, and but it would hold in place until there was a vote of the board to lift it. So it would be, the communication would be distributed to all departments, shared if there was anything that was going to be in conflict with any of the union contracts, the CBAs. We'll take a look at that. We'd be posting it, and I think your spending freeze has to be very public as well, not just a department. And, you know, you've been talking about that, about getting the information out there. I think this is a really big move for this town, for any town to put a spending freeze. That's huge. But there's a reason for it, and there's an absolute, it's necessary. And I think that it's a big step forward as we enter into the fiscal 27 budget process. I think it sends a very strong message, you know, to anybody viewing, not, you know, not just the departments and ourselves and all of that, but so that's
Can I see some of those?
of course. Is there a copier in this?
I think in her office, you want me to copy that one, because I don't think that
Is it open? Or if there's a central one?
that's the article.
Because some of those, just first glance, a couple of them are pretty old.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that might be something. I mean, we closed them down maybe 4 or 5 years ago. We went through and we cleared out.
Okay.
Donna helped us clear out a bunch of them.
Yeah.
But some of the recurring ones, maybe we're not using.
Yeah.
And honestly, even if they say they need it for some reason, if it's been sitting there, the decision needs to get made, and it's not up to them. If they've got a contract,
you know,
it's done.
a lot of times you'll hear that it's an emergency, it's gotta be had.
I gotta have
there.
their plans for it, yeah, no.
And then something else works out or whatever, another means comes forward, and there's remaining money. But John and I had spoken about it, just the other day as well.
I think that's one of the things that we probably need to have a discussion about is if there's other alternatives of ways of getting things. For instance, writing grants.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody wants to write a grant to get something, there's a lot more expenses than just buying this thing through grant money. That how are we going to pay for the other, for instance, a car? I'm just throwing something out there. So if we get a grant to write a grant to get a car of some kind for a department or a truck vehicle, but there's other expenses to it that aren't on there. So those are some of those things that we need to look at. Sure, we might get the vehicle for nothing, but there's a lot of other expenses that will come along with it that we now currently don't have.
Yeah, it happens when we use grants for job openings.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's great that they cover salary for 2 years, but then we're picking up the insurance and all the other, you know, unemployment insurance, all that ties into that, and it adds up very quickly. Thank you so much.
Can I just mention something about the grants?
Absolutely.
Okay, I think another cautionary point on the grants is it seems like there's been a current situation where the departments are going after matching grants, which means that we're on the hook, the town is on the hook for the matching portion, which usually comes out of their appropriation budget. That's expensive.
Yep. So I think we have to be mindful of every kind of grant opportunity. Yes, isn't necessarily just free money coming to the town at no expense.
Well, I think they're gonna need to be reviewed.
Yeah.
I mean, it's great people have the energy to go after this stuff, but we just have to know all the backside of it.
Yeah, and in some cases, you know, a lot of them do have a town obligation. And one thing you want to do is to see, you know, can your obligation be another grant? You know, funds from another grant to be applied instead of taking from your free cash.
I mean, and the other side of this is the more we can squeeze now, the better we are going forward.
Sure. Well,
And it's, I know nobody wants to do this, but if we can do a hard freeze now, I think it helps us in the end.
Yeah, I think we definitely need to do a hard freeze now.
Yep.
I don't know how we get away from it.
No, you don't. We need to do a budget freeze and a hiring freeze right now.
I'd agree with that. We need to do whatever we can.
Yeah.
Conserve whatever we can. Look at under every rock we've got before we ask the voters and
I mean, there's some rocks
taxpayers for
there.
another dime.
Not a lot of rocks, but
Is
there's
it too
some.
late to add that to our agenda for Tuesday, or we can
I
just
think
do?
we put it on originally.
Hmm?
I think we had put it on
I guess
originally
it's
as an
on.
item.
It is on there on Tuesdays? So we'll take a vote on it on Tuesday.
Okay. So, what else do we have questions on?
The direction for the town budgets.
Yeah,
Next year is probably the biggest one. Eh?
that it is. We need to start this process.
Yeah.
You know, as soon as possible. But I really need clear direction to be able to provide instruction to the departments.
So the last time we met, we talked about breaking this $500,000 up into 3 years, basically cutting $150 a year,
Mhm.
which I thought was a number 10%, is what we were looking for as a whole, if I remember right.
I thought it was a.
I thought it was.
Yeah, it's
I thought
only
it was
around
five.
Okay.
So,
So-
and to be honest with you, I think everybody kind of walked out with a whole different take.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know after understanding where free cash has come in, if that would still hold.
It won't hold.
It
There's
won't,
no
so-
way it will hold.
Mhm.
No.
Instead of looking at 150, we need to cut 500,000. Just to,
Break even.
yeah,
And that's just leaving a little bit in free cash. Maybe.
maybe.
No, because we probably pretty much have that spent already. This
Unfortunately.
year.
So somehow we need to find $500,000 in cuts.
We do. So I don't know if we go in and, the thing is, our budgets are so lean already, it's not good.
It's not good, and one of the things why I asked John with the scenario of the school's assessment of what would make the difference of the school's assessment at 2.5, because in his projection, originally it was a 5% increase. I cannot ask the town departments to take a maybe now 10 or 15% increase, a decrease, and the school gets a 5% increase.
Agreed.
I can't do that. The school is 50% of our budget. I'm sorry, they've got to feel 50% of the pain. We only get an extra $250,000 a year in extra revenue. If they got 125 increase, that should be what they get. But we're in a hole to begin with. You know, and even at the 2.5% number, their budget would go up $125,000 from where this year. And all the other departments would be going down.
Well, we're gonna have to have some hard discussions with the school.
Absolutely.
And the school is definitely aware, and they've been keeping the school committees apprised as to where we're at. It's unfortunate they weren't able to make it here today. We will be in discussions next week, but they've been really pushing and
Yeah.
letting everyone know where West Brookfield is. So we will be talking about the budget. We'll also be talking about Prop 2.5. And what we are discussing is that we really have to be a united front and approach this challenge together. And and they do understand it was brought up the last time as well, they understand the hardship, like, how do you guys ask the departments to make these cuts and not ask them to make cuts that get it?
Yeah.
So,
We're all gonna have to get real creative.
yeah.
So what are you guys thinking of what are you gonna throw up in your budget process?
John, do
Yes.
you happen to have a number, a percentage that you think would get us there? I know.
Yeah, for a number,
Yeah,
$588,000.
Over the departments we
You know,
have.
how we get to that number, again, we're talking about the schools. Their assessments go up an average of $200,000 a year. The town is currently paying $570,000 above minimum.
Uh-huh.
And, is there some work in there?
Yep.
If we could just convince them to try and meet us halfway, call it $300,000. That's a big, you've got a couple of departments that are just target-rich environments, but that's not necessarily fair to them. You just can't have smaller departments,
Picking up the same
under
5%.
the radar.
Yeah.
But there are some that are substantial. We went through and we saw what 2% does of $20,000.
Yeah.
There are items. We keep throwing out pensions and health insurance and such. But remember we also have an ambulance contract. That's $60,000. We got to start thinking about that at some point. Do you regionalize? Do they have a regional call center in that area? Those are areas we don't necessarily consider it a contract, but it is. So that's something you couldn't take. There are going to be departments that you just can't take money away from. And you have departments that, while they're not a majority of the budget, they still have contracts. You guys can't go without phones. You can't go without internet. So you can't cut them. I just think a percentage is really hard.
Yeah.
I just think that you have to come up with almost $600,000. Because frankly, I don't know if 100% for the town side, once you back out all the contractual departments, would get you where you want to be. And it is an individual thing. There's no question about it. But you can't be nice. I had a town manager. His during budget season, he had a sign on his door. You tell me what you want, I'll tell you what you can have. And that's very realistic. No more than it is now. So if you can ask the department what you can cut. But if you come back with $20,000 in cuts, what are you going to do? I just, and it's a group decision, but how many times do you want to go back to the departments and say, we asked you to come up with this much money to cut your budget, and you did it, but as it turns out, it wasn't enough. Then you got department heads that say, look at it, you did what you asked me to do. And now you bring me back again because I didn't do a good enough job. These departments have to understand. You gotta micromanage it. I'm sorry, that's the way it is. And if it's a target-rich department, so be it.
Yeah.
I'm not beating up individual departments because I have a pet peeve or anything. But 2 years ago, I believe you had a police chief, a sergeant, 4 patrolmen, and I think a couple of part-timers. Well, you now have a police chief, a lieutenant, a sergeant, I believe about 5 patrolmen, and you've got 3, and I'm using quotation fingers on this, but you've got some part-timers. Even though they agreed that they wouldn't have part-timers so that they could get the full-time, the 5th patrolman. Well, now they have part-timers, but they're not really part-timers, but they work part-time. Jesus. There's a tiger-rich environment. You want to knock 150,000 off right away? Or no further? But then what? Then what? We talked, or at least I brought up a couple of times, if you have buildings that are open at night, no longer. We might get to, we meaning you, get to the point that, you go from 4 days to 3 days. But that doesn't necessarily help as much as you think, because salary people still get their money, though they work 3, 4, 5 days. It hurts the hourly people who are getting $10 an hour and perhaps even working a second job now. But even having said that, Town of West Brookfield is not a charity. Right? You don't take in the homeless. You're a service-oriented business. And that has to provide businesses their price. And that's the way you gotta look at it. So, I can't really think of a scenario where we can get away with just 0 level funding expenses. I don't. But you guys are closer to it than I am. We need buy-in from the schools. And, I think those numbers are pretty telling about, your assessment and above minimum. That's a lot of money, but it's for the kids. So you're gonna have fights along the way, and you're gonna have big ticket items that you can eliminate and say that was easy, and then you're gonna be down scratching for the last pennies. So as far as the percentage goes, I don't know. I know 588,000.
So, John, looking at this worksheet that you have with the school assessment that was gonna receive a 2.5% increase on that worksheet.
Yeah.
The bottom line that we were short was $437,000.
Once we implemented that, yeah.
Yeah. So, under that scenario, the school, the Quabog would be getting a, and I'm gonna round it off to $125,000 increase at their 2.5%. If I take where they are right now and then add 2.5%, it's $125,000.
Okay, well, it should be about half, half of what, twice what we cut, so.
Yeah. So, if I back out the 125,000 out of that 437 that were short, just to level the playing field a little bit, that brings us down to about $312,000 is what we'd be short if we brought the school down to, and I'm not saying to
And
zero.
that's about half, right?
And that's what I said. So if you half that 312, the school would have to take a $156,000 cut, and all our other departments would have to take a $156,000 cut. Somewhere across all the town to get the 50-50 split we need, which is a big order, but that's what it's gonna take. And the school's
And
gonna screen.
you can look at the school and say, within that department, you're gonna reduce it $300,000. You look at the town, it's just not as easy on the town side because you have, again, your target-rich departments, and then you have the ones that, actually the town works so hard to get 2 people in the offices so somebody can go on vacation or, hey, even to the bathroom. You've done a great job with that, of getting office coverage. But, there are gonna be departments, what comes, off the top of my head is town hall maintenance.
Yeah.
Cut the custodian and everybody brings a broom to work. I don't know. People need detergents. You kind of get the idea.
Right.
there's some departments gonna be harder to cut than others. That's not to suggest that all departments have fat, they just have big ticket money that we can get the job done quicker.
No, but to look at just the schools, just the town side picking up 300,000, it's not gonna happen. So if we look at it, that if the school picked up half of that short, decreased half of that, 156 would be their cut that they'd have to make. And all of our other town departments would make the other 156, which I don't know how we do that, but that would at least be 50-50. And then we'd have to figure out how to take the 156 from the other town departments.
Yeah. And we saw what a 2% reduction in expenses was, about $20,000.
Yep.
It's 135,000.
And most of the salaries are contracted, so you're paying them.
Yeah. So it's, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's more a goal than a percentage.
Yeah.
You know how short it looks now. And how we get to zero, comes down to a matter of get to zero. Not how you got there. Get to zero.
It's probably more of a discussion with some of these bigger departments.
I've done it for years
I know,
with the schools, and everybody will tell you they don't have it to cut.
understood.
You're gonna have to tell them, yes, you can.
Yeah.
That's
no, I
what
think-
it's gonna
But I
take.
think it's gonna be a sit down and.
Yep.
And have a discussion rather than come throw 10% across because.
Yeah.
I mean, like we said, some of these smaller departments, there's no way they even have that to give.
No, and even some of the budgets
And
that
if
we've
it's-
looked at in
it's like
advisory,
$500.
I guess they have one $500 line
Yeah.
on their budget.
And you can take away $200 from all the inspector's expenses. And that's the type of money you're talking about in
Yeah.
some cases.
So that doesn't really give you a lot of direction.
No,
does it?
it does not, except
No,
that
but
we've
it-
gotta get rid of this number.
We've got to get rid of that
Yeah.
number, determine
So-
how to get rid of that number. I don't think it is a straight, I think what John is saying is absolutely correct. It's not just
No,
a
it's-
straight 5% across
Yep.
the board.
It's not.
Everybody cuts out of their budget.
It's not.
Because there's departments that are bigger and have a little bit more room than others.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Just with the potential hiring freeze, what do you plan to do about the fire department?
We'll be discussing that on Tuesday.
About the what?
The fire department?
Okay. Kevin probably have anything to say, so.
The resignation.
Just a question, is there anything that we can do on the, renewable revenue side? Are there places we aren't going? Are there pushes not being pushed hard enough, people not paying? And I know the whole issue of, land that the town owns is a difficult and timely one. It should be addressed, but it's not gonna solve this problem. It's got too much time frame and research.
But what you said will
required.
help boost the capital program. Because selling those properties are one-time revenues.
Yeah.
And they're just made for capital.
Yeah.
So while it doesn't necessarily solve the operating side of things, you're beginning to build something for the capital to work with.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things that the community always asks about.
Yeah, and it's not moving forward. It just sort
Exactly.
of is,
Yeah.
it's talked about time and time again, and then it just sits there. So there's that one, and then I don't really, again, this is something I'm not really sure that I have anything to lend on, but what about taxes that are not being paid? I mean.
That is a question I think Jillian had started to hit upon that the last time.
Yeah, we've got
But
people not
and
paying
again,
their
it
taxes.
comes to, it takes money to make money, and that's where this would go. But Jillian, did you hear that question?
She gets spent her legal fees.
Pardon?
Jillian?
Unmute.
Unmute.
She's
Julie.
muted.
Yeah. There you go.
Hi, Julian.
Mhm.
Can you hear us?
Maybe her microphone's
I
not
was
working.
gonna say.
She doesn't look like.
Yeah,
Mute.
So, but was that result that she had already spent the legal?
yeah, she'd already spent the money that
We
she'd
talked about
allocated
that.
for tax title this year.
Yeah, now we can.
You can hear me now? Okay, sorry.
That's okay.
I was just trying to answer your question. So regarding the property, the land that we own, I did want to address that. So I have looked through that. The property that we own is like John said, it would be one-time revenue. I would like to hold an auction. It is something that I have been looking at. We do have some abutter interest in some properties, and it's something that I would like to do in the spring. However, my legal budget is gone already this year. So I have about $500 left. And in order to hold an auction, I would need to have tax title, attorney representative, and I do not have the funds to do that. So that's where I'm at with that, and that's kind of where Teresa was saying that it takes money to make money is I have property, we did get a couple payoffs on tax title, but it's been months since we had any other payoffs. And last year I had sent some letters, had our attorney send letters on their letterhead, but that costs money. I do plan on sending out letters for all of the tax title properties again this spring. Actually, not this spring. I plan on doing it right after Christmas. To, just let people know, because I would like to get some payments in. And I do think also, like John mentioned, how our 2024 revenue was higher than 2025. I can tell you the exact reason for that. That's because I started in 2024 and I did a huge 5-year push for taxes that were not paid. I did demands for 5 years worth of real estate taxes and 5 years worth of personal property taxes. So that's why the revenue in 2024 was higher than 2025, because we had gotten all of those old payments in fiscal 2024. Everything's in tax title now, except for some of our 2025 has not been in tax title. But I'm pushing, I'm sending out letters. I plan on doing that in January, hoping that people who are getting their tax refunds might be inclined to pay their back taxes. But other than that, I have no money to send and have our attorney do any work. I have him halted on all tax title work right now because I have no money left in my budget.
So I think it would be important for us, Jillian, to know what kind of money you think you may need for legal
25.
to accomplish that, and also how much money, auction-wise for that land, but also how much is sitting in tax title. So basically, how much are we going to need to spend for each one of those categories to get about how much is what is
Right.
important for us to know.
So we have about $600,000 sitting in tax title as the tax title balance right now. That's for everything. But that's if everybody decided to pay off. So, that's never going to happen.
Yeah.
Right.
And then I can tell you my budget was $12,000 this year, and I spent that in less than 6 months. That was without an auction. I can definitely ask the attorney what his thoughts are, what he would charge to help us facilitate an auction, and get a quote on that to figure out how much that's going to cost. I will put that on my list. And then, as far as, what we would want to do further, we want him to send letters. My thought was I'll send letters first, see what kind of response we can get from that, for all tax title and back taxes. And then, maybe do another push later in spring and have, if we have more money, have the attorney send the letters. I haven't been able to put a single property in land court this year because I did not have the money in my budget. It's $685 per property just to file in land court. And that does not include all of the bills that come after that. And that's where my budget went this year, is that we do have a lot of active properties in land court. I filed 5 last year. We do have a lot of active properties in Langport. We have one that we're waiting on a foreclosure, and it could happen any day, but it takes, years and years for Langport to actually see a foreclosure happen.
We could put an article just for tax title, couldn't we? That annual or special? That way, if we set aside, if Julie could give us a number. I'm thinking maybe we should create an article at annual or special for tax title, just for money to do tax
I had
title.
mentioned to Teresa.
Jillian, do you, offhand, if there's a home on it, it goes into foreclosure, and that's different if it's undeveloped? Is the process the same for land versus, somebody who's
home?
whose
So
home is on the
there is a
land?
land of low value process
Mm-hmm.
through the state, but they're not as favorable. I have tried to go through the land of low value process. The state has become less and less favorable looking at those now, and it does take a lot of work between my office and the assessor's work office to file for land of low value. So yes and no, and they do have to meet the land of low value qualification. So the little properties that we have, like the Brookhaven properties, a lot of those would be land of low value, but the time and effort that it would take to get these properties in land of low value, and then what do we do with them afterwards? Does the town actually want to own these properties that we might not be able to even give away? Because a lot of the people, I have had multiple calls in the last 2 years of people who just want to give us their Brookhaven property because they don't want to pay the taxes anymore. Because the properties is not worth anything. They can't build on it. It's an unbuildable lot that someone bought years and years and years ago. Generally now it's the kids that are calling me because they're looking at their parents, and their parents bought these properties in the 70s, and they're realizing they're paying these taxes that are on a piece of property that are worth nothing. It's a landlocked, no access road piece of property.
So are there one or two pieces of land that would merit the effort? I mean, are there a couple of parcels that could be, identified that would merit effort, and others that, is it something you prioritize? And if there's one or two that's got some benefit, short-term benefit, that you go after that?
Again, that's something that our tax title attorney would need to help us look at and try and pinpoint. I can look at a map but I can't tell you if that property, I don't know the zoning on that property. So that was one of the big things I did last year, because I was trying to get an auction going before the November 1st of 2024 changes to tax title process. And I had, Bill Mansfield help me and provided me with some maps so that I could try and look at properties and see, but at the time I wasn't able to get in touch with zoning to figure out, if we can combine these 4 properties that the town might own or owns, can we make that a buildable lot and make that work something? That's something I would need zoning's help to figure out, assessors to help me figure out, the lot sizes and the requirements. So yes, and it's possible. It's just I need more than just me looking at these. I need our attorney to be able to be paid. Right now, like I said, he is completely on hold. I need zoning to help me out, assessors to help me out. So it's a big team effort to get these properties that might be worth something to figure that out.
Right. So but there's no answers there. There's no magic.
I don't have the answers. Not me myself alone. No.
But it does look like something that should be at some point pursued, identified, and whether there's a committee or some funds, but obviously probably not this year. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, I'd like to address something you brought up when you said revenues, increasing our revenues.
Right.
Now, we did a master plan, how many years ago? 6, 7, 8?
Yeah, right.
6, 7, 8.
Yeah, I know I was on the
2017, 8 years.
I was on the committee.
And you were on that committee?
Yeah.
And what was the one thing they said was our biggest detriment? We don't have a sewer system.
Well, we don't have a sewer system, and we also don't have water lines that are large enough to distribute to.
Which, the only way
to
we can
distribute
bring
for
in,
manufacturing or any, for
Business.
Yeah.
business and industrial, we don't have the,
so we don't have, we can't draw from that infrastructure to
Yeah.
get those businesses in here. So we are basically a farm and bedroom community.
Yeah.
And we can't fix that in
oh no.
6 months,
No.
6 years maybe.
Well,
Probably not.
we're not gonna be extending any water lines
No.
anytime soon.
No, but I mean,
bill.
no, but I mean, but that's what they said at the time, is that was one thing that we needed to look at, is that we don't have the anticipation of our revenues drastically increasing because we don't have the
Yeah, we
infrastructure
don't
to
have
support it.
infrastructure. Yeah.
And if anybody wants to read that online, I think it's on the website.
Yeah.
It was interesting reading 8 years ago. What else? Where are you at?
Yeah.
Still asking the same question.
Still asking the same question.
What?
So,
So there is one other thing that's, we do have the recent, accessory dwelling unit.
Mm-hmm.
There are some parcels in town that could, take an apartment building or something. There are some non-industrial things that the town could do to improve density and also it would, sorry, but low-income housing would, in a different percentage of income demographic in the town, would also increase the town's long-term likelihood of grants and funding, because we don't meet some of those criteria. So there are things that could be looked at, but there's no silver bullets.
no. And those things are difficult. You definitely need community buy-in. You have to be able to provide a balance for a community like West Brookfield that likes West Brookfield just the way it is. Right? So there's a lot of planning, a lot of research, a lot of work to move in that direction. I think that there is opportunity in the future for economic development. I think that it's going to be a matter of really looking at the future in terms of your Route 9 corridor. That's a significant corridor. You do have an area for light industrial. All of these things, though, and we will be looking at how do we brand, how do we sell West Brookfield to for young families to want to plant themselves here. And West Brookfield has a lot to offer in terms of that, but you're going to want to emphasize like your Route 9 and being on a main corridor for them to get back and forth to work or school or whatever it may be. But all of that is a long-term strategy. But we are working towards that. We're going to be working on implementing the master plan because that was not implemented. So we did receive grant funding to start that process, and also to update the master plan to include more focus on economic development. So that's long range. We had talked about short-term rentals and looking at that to get that on annual town meeting. I think if you were to look at the revenues, it's amazing for a small town how much you make in the meals local excise. That's a pretty nice number that's growing every year. I think you would find something similar with the short-term rentals as well.
Just to interject, we haven't passed that at town meeting this year for any of the, tried the last 3 years.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I was just saying, David. Yep. So we have some areas that we've been looking that are, so if that were, let's say, to pass, you will send notice, my office would send notice to DOR, and then it would go into effect, the state would start collecting in October is typically how that would work. There's some other items that we've been looking at as well. The near term, it's little stuff, but every dollar counts. Updating the permitting and licensing fees, those local receipts, every little bit helps. Short-term rentals, capturing new growth. So we do have our RRG working with the assessors, and we knew going into it that we weren't going to capture it like overnight. But I think that it's safe to say that there are some processes there that will assist in capturing new growth and all of that. So there'll be some changes coming forward within assessing that'll make a difference. The other thing to look at would be regionalization or shared services. In some instances, some departments, that may not work so well. You really and that takes some time. It takes some research to study it, to figure out, is it a good fit for this department or not? That type of thing. Some other areas, when we're looking at the contracts that we currently have for different services such as IT, that was a big increase because the center had not been included initially in the contract. And although it's painful to change your IT services just when they get comfortable and you get comfortable in using that particular vendor, sometimes you have to make those concessions. And so we'll be looking at that. They've been put on notice that we will be, we plan on putting that out in an RFP. But at the same time, we've had conversations with the school to see if there's the ability to partner up in intergovernmental agreement, maybe piggybacking on their IT services. We've been discussing the procurement for, it sounds crazy, but office supplies, your copy paper, that adds up. It's a cost. They buy in a much bigger volume than we do, so their price is much cheaper than what we pay for it. Things like that. And I think that if we try to be careful in our purchasing, it'll help. But again, it's not a save all.
Yeah.
But we're just trying to look at every avenue that we can. So.
Okay, the other elephants, insurance?
Yeah. So
what is the
process?
No, what is our insurance? What is the split for they have now? 25/75?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
25, what, 75, what?
Contribution rate.
Contribution.
Oh, for health insurance.
I mean, that can't be off the table either.
Yeah, health insurance all the way around is a pretty scary situation.
Yeah, I mean, it's up 20%.
Yeah.
Mine's up 14.
I mean, it's not good all around. So, what's your split?
I have no idea. All I know is it's going up 14% next year.
So, I mean, I think we have to keep that on the table too.
There's a process that would have to be followed. So
Understood. But I think it has to be part of the discussion.
That's 25% the employee pays, and then the town
pays
pays
75.
75.
Yeah.
Is that standard, or is that really generous?
It's standard.
It is standard.
Many communities. Some are
Well,
more,
what
some are
is-
less.
What is Quabog at now? Are they
Last I knew, they were at 75, 25. But
Okay. But I mean,
the lowest they can go is 50-50.
but I mean, there's also
The highest they can go is
co-pays.
90-10.
There's also co-pays. I know Quabog did lower their co-pays. Or raise.
Increase their
They
co-pays
increase,
to
that's what I mean.
reduce
Yeah.
the premiums.
Yeah.
And we could look at offering multiple plans. Where I work, we offer 3 different plans, a high deductible plan and a couple of other plans. So, because not everybody's needs are the same when it comes to insurance. And there's some You know, the high deductible plans are nice because they're really, really inexpensive.
So there's many things to continue looking at.
There is.
It's gonna be probably a tough budget season, but we have to get there. And I think the hard part for you is it's not just a straight, every department cut their 5%.
Yeah.
But I think we probably need some consensus for, do we feel it's fair that the school
Well,
take half that, or are we gonna ask the town departments to take it all? Because that
well,
will give her
no,
direction.
the thing, I think we've got to be very careful with the school. Because and this happened before, where they go to town meeting and they just can,
Roll right over you.
yep. And it's happened before and it could happen again. And I'm,
It could, and then we won't have any departments left.
Well, I mean, we've used that, I mean, that's a good portion of why we're in the position we're in right now.
Uh-huh.
it's because of the school.
We have $570,000 above what we're required to
I
pay.
know. But nobody wants, I mean, there's, the downside of that is, you know, if you get rid of stuff in the school, the housing prices drop and a lot of stuff like that. There's ramifications every direction
Yeah.
of this stuff. So, I mean,
If we don't have an
But-
ambulance service, we don't have a fire department, we don't have a police department,
But
we don't
I
have a
don't,
senior
but I don't
center.
think, I'm not, I didn't follow your math on the school. You were saying it would be, if we asked them to, even going with the 2.5, right? So that represented 5.5 to 5.36.
So on the sheet that has the school assessment of a 2.5%
Right.
increase, that number, it would be giving them
this is from the last.
$125,000 more than where they are this year.
Right, that's 125. We need to find 437.
Right, so what
So that's not more than half, I mean.
No, what I said is, if you take that increase off, so that they're level, that brings it down to, we need 10,417,000, which means instead of that $437,000 shortfall, we need $312,000.
Right,
And then 50/50 would be the school would have to reduce 156 and all the town
so you're
departments.
talking, there's no way we can just level, we can not even level fund the schools and ask them to cut back. That's not reasonable.
So you're asking the town departments to pick up $300,000 in
That's
cuts.
reasonable.
Oh, yeah. Neither is reasonable.
Yeah, neither is reasonable.
None of this is reasonable.
Okay, Dave.
If I could just add, if the school.
Roland, don't forget, their,
John,
their annual assessment for the last 5 years has gone up, foundation, whatever it's called, has gone up on an average of $200,000 a year. And so certainly for the assessment, they're gonna look and say, well, if the state says we need to go up this, who are we to argue?
John, I've done the school budgets for 12 years. Because the minimum goes up does not mean your assessment needs to go up that much money, because we are paying $570,000
Oh,
more.
no, we're on the same page there, Kenny, I know, I'm saying that, but it is something to consider. Well, in January, right, they'll come out with the preliminary and
Yep,
see how those numbers wash out.
But I don't think it's a magic bullet. I don't think we can count on that for all
No,
the number of money we need to find.
Dave wants
It's
to
just
speak.
a simple and stupid statement.
I can't hear
every
you.
bone-
Come
Every
over here.
bone in my body believes that we need to do an override. And if we exempt the school and that part of the town from the pain that we're all facing here, we're never gonna get the override passed. So spread the pain, let the people know what we can afford, because that's the reality. We're not making this up, we're not trying to push pain for the sake of pushing pain, but we can't afford to do what we're doing, across the board, schools included.
No,
And
agreed.
sooner or later, we're gonna come to that realization and rise up as a town and fix this.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have the revenue.
And
we don't-
the benefit of what the selectmen are talking about doing, which is the freeze, is getting the word out about the freeze
Exactly.
now
Yeah.
lends a lot more credence to the request for the override. Because no matter how you slice it, I think an override, even with as much marketing, let us call it, that the town might or might not choose to do, I don't know, my sense is that there's a tremendous overwhelming portion of the population in this town who will vote against it.
Yeah,
I
I
don't
agree.
see it,
Yeah.
I don't see it passing,
No.
personally.
I don't either.
And if you take the schools out of the equation, it will never pass.
Well, if the school is so good at mobilizing as we know they are, we need to leverage them to push the override. We need to
tried
be
that
all on the
last year.
same
We
page.
did try that last year.
We have to, I mean,
We didn't get any
Well,
support.
yeah.
Well, we're having that conversation, and I just had the conversation day before yesterday. And there is a desire to work with the town in concert together. They get where we're at. And we will be having more conversation. We'll be meeting next week. And that is the goal, that we partner together and drive this home.
Okay. Did the selectmen, are they you guys putting out the override?
Yeah,
I think it's on an agenda for,
Is it on the agenda for next week?
what you have for, what we're talking about is the budget freeze.
yeah, but I thought we had, at one of our
I
meetings,
thought
we
our
had talked about.
our last meeting here, we talked about you guys putting that on your agenda.
You did bring it up,
Well, I thought,
but you meant,
well, we look organized, don't we?
I know, so what
No, I
would
thought
you
you guys
like?
were gonna, I thought you and John were going to write the ballot question up, and we were going to get it.
Oh,
And we need to figure out how much money we want for the override, so we do need to discuss
But
it
the selectmen have to vote
To do
to
that.
put an
Yeah.
override out there.
on the ballot.
Right. And we said that should be a meeting that comes up soon because we're gonna need that time frame.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the
Yeah,
ballot
it's not
would
a-
be May's ballot, so.
So that-
I don't know who did it, but somebody has, I've seen it on one of the emails. that's been
No, I
going around.
did, I sent
Somebody-
it out.
Somebody did provide a ballot question,
Yeah,
and they left the dollar amount empty.
Right.
Right,
and you gave us some numbers of what X would give us
Yeah,
as far as
5
leverage.
years would be approximately 1.98 million.
And honestly, my personal opinion, I think right now, it'd be 1 year because people are gonna see it. Even that 1 year number is gonna be bigger, but they need to see the impact of if they don't get it or do get it. If you ask somebody for 2 million, last year we asked for 1 million and you couldn't get it. So to ask for 2
Yeah,
for
that's not
5
gonna
years
happen.
isn't gonna happen. So even doing the 1 year, even if for a few years we had to go back every year, at least they see what they're getting for their money. And they only are putting out that 1 year's worth.
Tough enough to get it passed.
Mm-hmm. It is, but I honestly don't believe 5 years at 2 million is gonna go through at all.
No, I
So-
agree with you. We just have to figure out what we, going back to the wall every year, I don't think is reasonable either, so.
I don't know if maybe they pick up a little of understanding and seeing what they're getting, I'm not sure.
I think they'd think, I don't know. That requires some additional discussion.
It does. As long as the ballot questions,
Yeah,
then we can go from there.
I
We can
think
build
the
on that.
difficult part is the timing of the ballot question and the town meeting. I honestly think town meeting, more people get information at that town meeting. Because I know at last year's, when they went to town meeting and we discussed it, they were wondering why we weren't having it after the fact. After they're getting the information at town meeting, why is it not a ballot question after? Like many towns, it's just ours is reversed. So it makes it harder to go and May it with an election. And I don't know if it's worth having a special meeting for that, and election for that, one question. And I don't know how much that piece of it costs to have that special election to do that.
Well, the thing is,
To
after
have,
town,
without the benefit of town meeting to communicate about it, makes me think it is even less likelihood
Yep.
of passing.
Yeah, I think you stand a better chance.
So, but the problem is, you need to know to bring a budget to town meeting.
Or
You
you
need
walk
to know
in
whether
the
you've
door
got
with
it or
two.
not, right?
we'd have to walk in the
What
door
too?
with two different budgets. And
Mm-hmm.
that's going to be a nightmare
Yeah,
to try to get through in
Yeah.
one night. That's my problem with it.
People are gonna wanna mix
one
them
at a
too.
time.
But this is where I struggle. It is not that complicated. It's 2 columns on one sheet. It passes, it doesn't.
Were you at last year's town meeting?
Yep,
Everything
I've been at
passed.
a town meeting for the last many
Everything
years.
passed last year.
No, but it was, There were
That's the strangest meeting I've ever been to.
there were
was last year's meeting.
continuous starts and stops
No,
and
the one before
procedural
that,
errors, and if
Yeah.
we try to do it, if we try to reverse the sequence and present two different budgets saying, this is what we'll use if 2.5 passes, and this is what we use if it doesn't pass, I think that's going to be just one.
Okay. Dave, you had something?
Exactly.
If I could,
Hang on 1 minute, John.
okay, sure.
I thought that's what we did last year, the year before. When did we bring this up last time? We had 2 budgets, right?
No.
We didn't go with 2 budgets?
We've never gone with two
We never
budgets.
brought
We've
it
talked
up.
about it.
We
Okay,
talked
that's
about
right.
it, but Ron didn't want to,
Yeah.
our former town administrator wasn't really on board with that.
Yeah, my only point is if you do what you did, you get what you got. So if we didn't do it, maybe this is a better way to do it.
Okay, John, you're up.
The ballot question would be prior to the annual town meeting, correct?
Yep,
Well, I was talking about moving it to after, John.
I don't know that it wouldn't be a better idea to have it before, and I might be the only one, but let me explain. You have a budget, and it's a budget that would be funded with an override. Whether it's 1 year at 588, whether it's 2 years at 750, so on. But the override and the campaigning for the override is based on the budgets plus the cuts. If it doesn't come through. If you can't come up with an override for 27 for $588,000, then you explain what gets cut. Okay, and stick to it. Stick to it. If the override fails, stick to those cuts.
No, we're not gonna have a choice this year.
If the override were to fail, then town meeting is presented with the budget and those cuts included. They only see one budget. The public only sees one budget, but they know what happens if it fails. Personnel, hours, services, something realistic, but something we don't back off of. That's what, let's say it's a 1 year override. So this is what you lose if you don't come up with 588,000. And again, just stick to it. And the town meeting gets the budget with $588,000 worth of cuts. And if you have to regurgitate what's going to be lost, fine. That's what town meeting is for. So the people with the ballot see one budget. The people in town meeting see one budget. I mean, if the ballot goes down, what's the point in showing town meeting 2 budgets? One budget is moved.
no, what
They
we're,
can't vote on it. They
no,
can't amend it.
what we're saying, John, is not to have the election for the ballot question before the town meeting, because what happens is people at town meeting show up, ask questions, and make their decision, and last year that's what they looked at. Well, why wasn't the vote after town meeting where they then understood what was gonna happen? Because other than that, it's public sessions that some people show up and some people don't, and
I mean, whose fault is that?
I know that.
I just think that order of things is smoother, and I can be wrong. If you ask my wife, I'm wrong a lot. In fact, I think all the time. But I just see a smoother path that way.
Okay. So we're kind of redoing everything all over again. So what do we need? What do you need? What do we need to get this going?
Well, I think that John and I are going to,
Be good
we'll have
friends?
these packets together, and then I think I'm gonna take the lead and work with department heads and start pounding away on a budget that tries to to get to where we need.
I do think that the one-on-one with department heads is probably gonna
It's
be,
the only
it's the only thing
at
that's
this
gonna
point, so.
make people understand.
And then the other thing I'm going to do is come back to the board in the near future with a complete layout of what I see the process for the override as we go forward, and what that's going to look like, and the strategy we're going to take, and we'll lay that out and the schedule for that. And have some healthy conversation over it. In the meantime, I'm going to send the board the municipal budget freeze policies. I'll send those out to you tomorrow. Just to kind of look at highlighted some areas for you to take a look and kind of figure out how you want that to look like for Monday night. So then we
Tuesday
can
night?
or Tuesday, sorry. I always have it in my head it's going to be Monday
next week.
Monday next
Early than
week.
late.
And we'll go from there. The other thing I'll do is I will work with the departments in identifying articles that we can potentially have Donna
Close out.
and that'll go back to the general fund.
And
Well, and isn't there different ways of, I mean, can't we close it out, but use it to a certain item, like say, if we closed out one, couldn't we use $5,000 and give it to Jillian's thing?
It would be a town meeting that could reappropriate it to
For a
something
special
else.
town meeting,
Right.
we reappropriate.
Look, like we all know, we
Yeah,
need some funds for legal. So if we can close something out here,
We would
to find the
transfer.
funds for legal.
Yeah,
and that
In a
that would
special
just
town
be an
meeting.
article on top
Yeah.
at
And
the
we have
main
the-
town meeting.
We have the special town meeting scheduled, right? For,
You have it for the 27th
the
of
27th of
January.
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 yeah,
Can I just ask one? So we're gonna implement the freeze, and you're gonna work on a budget that assumes we do not get the override.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, and we're only bringing one budget to town meeting.
well, I think we have to work on two
We're gonna
budgets.
have to work on
Two,
two.
you're gonna have to bring
There's the
two.
override.
We're not gonna bring
budget,
two.
and then
We'll only bring one, depending on how the ballot question goes.
But they'll be
Because the ballot
preparing
question
They'll
to.
be
is ahead of
preparing
time.
During
to,
budget
Oh,
season, they'll
got it.
prepare to, based
But
on
you're
the
still
ballot
gonna do
question.
that ahead of time.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the Prop 2.5 budget that you're asking for, you're not asking for the wish list, you're asking for.
Just level service, right, John?
Yeah, but
Well,
basically
fine.
to come back to where you would have been if we didn't have the deficit.
Right.
So
And the
that
level
would-
service, I think, Roland, I think you and I disagree, but you're still really cool.
Okay.
You want,
Ouch, dude.
you want to bring the level service.
No, we can't do that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how you can come back. Tommy has got to vote on a budget. And so by that time, you have to provide town meeting with one singular budget. And that would be, I think, in my mind, that would be based on the success or failure of the override.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So we have to prepare two budgets, one with cuts and one with what?
Yep.
One with,
With level.
And that's the advantage that Teresa is referring to, the one-on-one with the department heads, because they each have a dog in the fight, and they need to know what that is. Because the last thing you want is for them to stand up at town meeting if the override fails and said, nobody ever told me about this.
Right, so the question that's on the table right now is the budget for Proposition 2.5. Roland is suggesting that the departments are level funding for that budget. Expenses go up, I don't know that if we're going for a Prop 2.5, that we go in with a fully level funded budget. So you had said you're starting where you would have if if it passed. So is that the 2.5% salary increases and the 2% expenditure increases that the town usually
Yes.
goes with? That's what I was
Yes, level
thinking.
service. Level service
But-
is,
So we're
we
calling
need
it
an
level.
override to get level service.
So that's what you mean by level funded, you're not talking about
Level
level
service.
funding?
Level
service.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
different than level
That
funded.
level service
So
is
it's
the
2.5
override budget.
salary,
No, but even if that prop 2.5, if we don't go for it, so John, the number that you have here with the minus 565, the 565,000 deficit, this is 0% salary, 0% expenses. So this is a level, this isn't even level fund, let alone level service.
No, that's not. The original one that I sent out, I think last week or the week before, it's 588,000, I believe, and that is the 2.5 and 2. I think you're looking there at the 2.5 and 0.
Right. So,
And then the other one was the 2.5 and 0 for the town, and a 2.5 total increase on the school.
yeah, well, that was the 547 deficit, or the 437 deficit.
I believe so, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it says that.
Yeah, and this is a decrease.
So
Not increase.
salaries are 2.5, expenses are
Based on
2,
the 2%.
school
expenses
expenses.
are 5.
And that's what the
No,
override.
it's
That's
because
Yeah,
we had.
that's if the 2.5 passes, is that
The other one has
565 number?
5%.
It doesn't say that.
Okay.
So
Is that
Did on
if
this
the
one.
2.5 passes and you have the higher level service,
Well, not level anything, actually, but, okay,
if the 2.5 passes,
yeah.
the
than the one that has the 2.5?
the
It'll be low.
2.5 and on salaries and the 2% on expenses.
Yep.
And
Schools will get 5.
the school gets 5. Okay, so
They should have a school. 5%.
then next year,
Yes.
we're looking at that as your
It
baseline.
depends on how much we ask for in 2.5.
But in theory,
Mm-hmm.
next year, your baseline
Mhm.
is what the 2.5 got you to. And now the expectation is
Yep.
another 2.5, 2, and 5.
Like I said, it depends on what we ask for in the 2.5. At the bare minimum, we need 600 in the 2.5 to do the one budget.
Yeah.
So,
If you ask for 2.5%, I'm sorry, if you ask for the level service budget, and by the way, that's mine and everybody in that room's opinion of what level service is. The department heads will tell you differently.
Right.
But level service is 2.5 and 2 as we've decreed. That's the override. How many years you want to go out? Okay, if you wanted to go out, 2 years. Okay, if you want to go out 2 years, you would need 588,000 to cover this year. But remember, it's a general override. So that 588,000 that you raised is part of the levy now. And so in the subsequent year, that 588,000 is there.
Yep.
So
Oh,
to
okay,
continue
I get
level
2.5 on
service,
that.
you would have to raise approximately 250 to $220,000.
right, so, yeah,
Because that's the difference between debt, okay? A general operating override goes on forever, so the
Yeah.
588,000 you got to fund this year continues on for a lifetime.
Correct.
You're just supplementing after that.
so maybe we do it for 850 to get 2 years out of it.
We'll have to talk about which way we think we can get best. What it'll come down to.
I think, Roland, you and I looked at, what, a 3-year override? And $1 million would come up just short.
Yeah.
Like a, to be like $1.1 million or something like that. I think 1127
Got a
would be
plan.
3 years.
Alrighty then.
I'm just wondering, is there any directive for capital planning
There is
Sit
no.
tight, sit tight, sit tight.
Sit tight.
There is
You know,
no.
I
spending right
don't
now.
wanna,
TBD.
really don't wanna put a whole lot of my time.
Huh?
I said, if I may, for capital planning.
Yeah.
I don't think we should suspend capital planning. Capital expenditures, we need to suspend. We'll keep planning, even if it's only racking up the deficit, so that we have a record and we have a plan.
Well, you can continue planning, but you gotta be, I mean,
Yeah.
don't
I'm
miss
making no
the
promise.
With-
Don't be angry if we don't have any money.
Yeah,
for
the
it.
realization you're not.
Yeah.
funding TBD.
Yeah.
Okay, is there anything else anybody has? John, Jillian, Donna, Alex?
Well, I hate to pour cold water on the fire, but we have a lot to do tonight. When is the ballot question? Is it gonna be in the regular election, or is it gonna be in a special election? To me, we gotta make that now. Because the selectmen, I don't know if you're up against it yet, but you gotta post a ballot question. And I gotta figure it's within a few weeks,
They gotta,
maybe a month.
they have to do the ballot question.
Teresa's gonna put the whole timeline together.
Well, I would think we would do it during the regular annual election in May, no?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Be
Yeah.
cheaper.
So that's John, it would be in May for the ballot question.
Okay, so we're back to the general election, okay. All right, so you need to post it in January, early? I don't know. Anyway,
Well, I-
so we need the override announced, authorized by the Board of Selectmen.
Mhm.
And to be held at the general election in May.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is the pleasure of all of you as to the amount?
I think there's some disagreement on the board right now.
I can only ask the questions, you guys are the ones that decide.
I think we'll have to really debate whether it's one or two. To go out for 5, I don't see us getting it at all. So it's whether we do
Okay.
the 1 or the 2 is which one makes more sense, the likelihood of
Do
getting it. But
1 year.
All right, but in the meantime,
Does advisory have any input on the 1, 2, or 3 year?
Can I-
Deadline is for
Like things.
yeah, the amount.
authorized question.
If it's
So-
long
so-
way.
And we have an idea, yeah, that's the bare minimum we need to know, and I think one of the hiccups we had last time we all met was, it appears that not all of us knew we're on the same page. So, at the very least, posting the ballot question, how much the ballot question is gonna be, not in that order. And from there, we meet with the departments. We meet with them, they'll understand what we consider level service. And right now, I think we're at 2.5 and 2. And yeah, go after the schools, have some fun. I don't know what you can sell on to them.
Well, I know their budget better than anybody, so I understand it's a hard selling point, but we've all got to be in this together. Money comes out
Yes,
of
you're
one resource, that's it. And they've got their money the past couple of years. They've got over almost $1 million more than they were supposed to a couple of years ago, which they still not have addressed to me. I've asked questions about a number of times, and I've not got a response for the past 18 months. So there's discussions that need to be had.
These are the things for moving forward, and this is so important for Teresa and her office to have, because she's gonna be approaching these department heads, and we have to look like we know what we're doing.
2 years.
Yep.
So if we have some solid numbers to work with, dates and times, then we're gonna be in much better shape.
Exactly.
John, isn't the posting for a ballot question 35 days in advance of the election?
I defer to you, I'm
Yeah.
just a beat on it.
Just gotta get it out.
I'm pretty sure that's the posting
This is
deadline.
getting it out.
Okay,
If people
Yeah.
watch this.
Yeah.
But I did forward you all the information on it so that we can all.
So I would be interested in your input on 1, 2, or 3 years.
I would say, I'm kind of leaning towards 2.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay?
I mean, it's a lot of effort to go for 1. But I don't think it increases the likelihood of it passing.
2 years sounds good.
Mike, what would
Thank
you?
you. You guys closed?
So just so I'm clear, that would mean for 2 years, the tax increase, the annual increase would be raised for 2 years in a row to whatever increase you determined you were going for.
No, it'd just be 1 year.
The 1 year.
Oh, you're gonna go for 1 year
But
to
it
get
would-
enough money for 2 years.
Right.
I
And
got
hopefully,
Okay. And then
Alex?
whatever anybody's tax was for that year, the next year it would just be the 2.5.
well,
No, it
no,
will go
it's
a bit more.
permanent. The
It's all
funds
right.
are permanent.
Pardon?
The money's permanent. So it doesn't end. It's not like it's,
Debt
a debt
exclusion.
exclusion. So this is a permanent tax increase above the 2.5% that we're
For
allowed.
the life,
Forever.
Forever.
That's
Of
just
your
the tax,
property.
that is the taxes now.
Yeah,
We raised the whole bar.
yeah.
The bottom
bar
line
has
is
it.
it's expensive.
We can't go back, Andre, because we just don't
I'm
have
sorry,
the,
I didn't
us.
ask
no,
Alex.
no, no.
Alex,
So,
I'm
so
sorry.
I guess I don't know. Every annual year, if you change it from 2.5 to 3, then the following year it's 3. No, it goes back to 2.5 the next year.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
Sure.
what I'm asking.
yeah, the increase after the override is always.
So when you go, when you say,
You've made that
I,
jump
I'm
and
just
left it
trying
there,
to
so
Right.
every
understand,
after that's
community, if
on
you
a
go
big
for
lump.
2 years, it's a 1 year tax increase to cover 2 years of funds.
Correct.
It is
Well,
not it is not 2 years at 3, is it 2 years at 3%?
No, what we're doing
Or
is
is you're
we're,
going in
no.
1 year, you're gonna make the increase, whatever it has to be, to get you enough funds to cover the deficit for 2 years?
Let's do this. Why don't we have John explain that? Because if we're talking
Okay.
a
Yeah.
2-year piece, let's all be clear so we all
That's
look
what
at
I'm
the
trying to
same thing.
understand.
I just wanted to ask, Alex, are you good with the 2 years too?
Yeah, I think we have to go 2 years.
Okay,
Okay.
I just want to make sure we all were chimed in.
Voice.
So John,
So you want to fund years 27 and 28.
yep,
Okay. So, let me give you an idea. We're gonna take out, or we're gonna ask for approximately,
$850.
$1.4 million
Okay.
at this point. Okay?
for 2 years? I thought 2 years was 850, John.
Yeah, I thought that was the
But,
3 year.
no. It's 588.
yep,
Right.
Okay, so here's how it works. To fund this year.
Yep.
It's gonna take 588,470 thereabouts.
Yep.
To fund 28, it's gonna cost 871,993 or
that's the
thereabouts.
220,
Right.
which is the
The
580.
588 doesn't go away though.
Yeah.
No, 588 is the
So
new
we're gonna need-
baseline,
okay,
so
hold
the
on.
next year
Hold
it's a
on,
base.
I know what you're getting at, hold on.
You're spending it twice.
No, I don't think you're spending it twice. I think he's right.
Oh, hold on a second. Second. And this may affect how you.
Mm-hmm.
you
Why I'm
do
asking the
Understand.
question,
Let's understand.
I wanna know what 2 years means and
Exactly.
Yeah,
because if people don't understand,
If we don't, they're not.
It means that it will increase to 6.
I'll get you the number for it, but the first year.
John, can I
The
ask
first year would be
you?
588,470. Now, that 588 carries into the following year. You voted it for life.
Right.
Right.
So then you would have to have enough money between 871,993 and the previous year's 588. You need to fund that increase in all the subsequent years.
So another 300,000.
Mhm.
Which
About
would,
that, yeah.
which would be 850, roughly.
Yeah. And like I said, I think when you and I talked, we got like 120,000, $1 million got us around 120,000 short
Yeah.
of 3 years. But that's why, I'm sorry, I was giving you what the deficits would be, I know what you're saying.
Yeah, I'm
No. Can I, John, can you give me just a minute here? Can you give me a
Yeah.
minute? Okay. If the overall town budget increases by, let's use round numbers, 600,000 in a given year, right? the next year's baseline is not gonna be less than that year's.
Right.
And it's gonna be that, so if it's 600 additional for the first year, the new baseline for the next year is an additional 600, plus whatever the increase for that year is. That's why I think John was right.
Okay. Now, that 600,000 that you voted initially, okay, that's for life.
Yeah.
So that 588 is already there in the second year.
You only have to do
All
the
you have to fund is the additional.
incremental piece that for that 1 year,
Right.
because the 588 stays with us.
So your tax rate
So
is
that,
2.5
the
plus
following
588.
Increase goes up
Yeah.
and it goes up again.
Okay, wait, so the following year,
Yep.
you would be looking, you have the potential to have a deficit of 200 or 300,000 because
We've already got this.
you've already got the 500.
Yeah.
So what you're doing is you're making a new baseline for this year's budget, but it does not acknowledge escalation in years in the future.
The way we're trying to plan it is 2 years, acknowledging escalation for year, for year one plus year two. Come year three, we have to see what our free cash looks like, what the situation is, whether we
Because
have
we'd
to
be
go back
short
to
the
the
incremental piece again.
Right.
Right,
Not the whole 800,
right.
but let's say the 200 or 300
Okay.
again, depending
So
on expenses.
When you say for 2 years, the tax rate at the end of 2 years doesn't go down, it stays the same for
stays there.
all time.
Yep.
Right. If the ballot passes and it passes at the annual town meeting, that sets a new tax levy limit, right?
For all time,
For all time.
okay. So you're setting that limit in order to fund overrides for 2 years, as opposed to setting a limit to fund additional cost column
We're trying to
for
meet,
3 years.
we're trying to meet operational
Yeah.
expenses for 2 years.
Okay.
Not overrides,
Yeah.
just trying to meet
Okay,
operational
right, sorry, I'm
expenses.
sorry.
Basically, what's going to happen is our expenses right now are more than our revenue.
Right.
We're increasing the revenue to match our expenses.
But you're matching only this year's.
Right, but by doing a 2-year
Right.
override, we're also raising the limit in the second year already to be able to meet the second years without having to go back to the
Right.
ballot
Without
again.
having to go back again, I understand.
Yeah, so the tax levy will go up 2 years in a row.
Yeah, okay.
But then it will stay
Then it will stay up here.
up here.
It's not gonna go back down here.
Right.
Okay, Dave, what do you have?
The only thing we're not recognizing here is you're creating a capital needs backlog in this process. So if we do only this, then we go forward, I believe, with no capital investment for a year or two, and you build a backlog.
Well, Dave, we're gonna have to,
Well, I know.
we're probably gonna
We
have to get debt
recognize- I'm sure
exclusions.
it's all around it, just have to
Yeah.
recognize that if anybody comes around when Jim needs a truck, it absolutely has to have it.
But if we do this plan, David, and we can get a couple of years, then we'll presumably have a little bit of free cash,
Gotcha,
which we could invest in capital improvements.
okay. I just want.
Right now, there's no free cash,
Right.
the way we've been doing it.
Yeah, so we can't squeeze the life out of capital investment in this town, I think we know that.
No, and I think the difficult part is we have a number of large capital things that are gonna require debt
Yes.
exclusions to get those done and paid for.
Correct.
So that's on top
Enough
of all
said, I just
this.
wanna get that.
Okay, understood. Okay, John, what else do we need to get snapped down tonight?
Are there any other ways for me to keep you? Let's see. No, I just, if we're all on the same page when we leave here, and I don't think anybody necessarily felt comfortable about that a couple of weeks ago. So we've got, Teresa, just like you said, whether it's 35, I'm not sure. But if there's 35, the election day minus 35, that's the deadline. If we have any questions as to what goes on the ballot as far as an amount goes, if somebody has second thoughts and wants 3 years or 1 year, we have until the printing of the ballot
Yep.
to
Change
to make any adjustments there.
Yeah.
Basically, now we meet with the department heads and make them understand that, level service is what we determine level service is. Not them, and it might not even be reality. But at this point, it's what the town can afford to go with, so, contingent on the override. the tough part is when we meet with the departments is, explain to them that we need X amount of dollars, should the override fail. We need X amount of dollars, city, may or may not equal half of the entire budget of West Brookfield, including schools. And how are they gonna help us, or how do they have to be led? And that's it. So the first budget's basically set. If they have the guidelines and everybody in the process sticks to those guidelines, we already know what the 27 budget is gonna be, sort of. Because we've said it. The real work, the real budget season will be crafting a budget that doesn't include the override.
That's gonna be the heavy lift.
Okay, John.
Alrighty.
Yeah, I guess that's it, Teresa, we can talk about when you wanna start the budget process.
And if Jillian can get us information as far as what she thinks, as far as the tax title stuff, money that she may need.
I know initially you had thought maybe 25,000, Jillian, but
Yeah, that was my thought process.
that was kind of
for,
conservative, maybe.
You know, but that was just.
Yeah.
Just a number. I can definitely look into it a little bit more.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does anybody else have anything else?
Just that our next selectmen's meeting is,
The 9th?
Tuesday, December 9th at 6 p.m.
Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Make a motion
We
to
are-
adjourn.
You did a great job tonight, everyone.
One second.
We're not
Adjourn.
adjourned.
All in favor?
Alright.
Aye.